Hello, I'm back. Welcome to or back to the channel if you are new here. And if you are listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Brittany. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the topic of today. We are going to talk about letting go and why it is so difficult to let go. It's something that a lot of us know that we need to do, like logically. We know that it is not healthy to hold on to things that aren't serving us. Or logically, we know that if we're trying to manifest something, we don't want to be putting out the energy of want. We want to align our frequency with the energy of that of which we desire. And if we are wanting something, that's not the same frequency. That's not the energy we want to be aligned with. So letting go and letting go of the wanting is really important, but that's really hard to do. Like when you really want something, it's not easy to release it. It's not easy to let it go. Or for example, if you are in a relationship and you know it's not serving you anymore, it can be really hard to choose yourself and let go of that relationship and walk away. So I'm going to kind of talk about why we struggle with it so much and how we can overcome that. Trust me, this is something that I am working on. It is something I am still working on. It is hard because we are human. So step one is acknowledging that we are human and acknowledging the feelings that we are feeling and not suppressing those feelings. Because the more we suppress, the more we spiritually bypass, we are not actually going to make any progress. You can't lie to the universe. Energy doesn't lie. You can lie to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you can convince yourself of things that aren't true. The ego is really good at doing that, but you can't lie to God, source, the universe, whatever it is you call it. Energy doesn't lie. So if you really want to align yourself with what is truly meant for you, letting go is such an important piece to get good at, for lack of a better word, but it's not easy. It's difficult. It requires patience and it requires dedication to self to actually get yourself there. And it requires brutal honesty because it's really easy to lie to yourself. It's really easy to convince yourself of things that are not actually true. And if you can't be honest with yourself, well, you're not going to get what you want at the end of the day. You're never going to align with that frequency because again, you can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to God. So letting go requires a certain amount of faith. It requires a certain amount of trust in God, source, the universe, again, whatever it is you call it. I might use these terms interchangeably, but to me, they are essentially the same thing. So just keep that in mind as we kind of roll through this episode. I might say the universe, I might say God, I might say source, I might say spirit, but essentially to me, they all are the same thing. So just keep that in mind through this episode. But in order to truly let go, it requires a certain amount of faith in the universe, a certain amount of faith in God. It requires a certain amount of trust that God's plan is what is best. And God knows what it is that your soul is truly desiring. Because here on earth, we are human. We have the ego. And the ego is a very necessary part of this experience. We wouldn't be here without it. It's not something that you want to shame or hate, but it is something to be acknowledged. And the ego is very tricky. The ego is very good at convincing you of things that might not be true. The ego is really good at thinking it knows what's best for you. And when we let go, it's often needing to let go of what the ego thinks is best, not actually what is best. And in letting go, sometimes it can cause pain, it can cause heartache, it can cause fear. And those are not necessarily bad things, but the ego is going to convince you that they are bad things because those emotions are very uncomfortable. And in society, we are taught that uncomfortability equals bad. Oh, don't be uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, let's slap a Band-Aid on it. You go to the doctor because you're sick, let's slap a Band-Aid on it. Let's make it better. We negate the root of the issue. We forget that there's a deeper rooted issue or thing that's causing the pain. So when you realize that being uncomfortable is not actually a bad thing, it will really help you move toward your goals and what you are actually desiring, because it's really easy to numb, right? Like when we are uncomfortable with things, we numb. People drink, people smoke, people binge, whatever their coping mechanisms are, and we don't allow ourselves to sit and feel those uncomfortable feelings. And the ego doesn't want you to feel uncomfortable. So the ego is going to convince you of things to keep you within your comfort zone. And again, the ego thinks it knows what's best because it wants to protect you, but essentially that's only going to keep you in your comfort zone. If you allow yourself to trust God's plan and to trust the uncomfortable path He might guide you through, trust me, you will realize that it will be worth it at the end of the day, because while you sit through those uncomfortable feelings, those uncomfortable and oftentimes confusing emotions, that's actually where a lot of clarity will be brought to you, because when you're able to sit through those feelings and feel those feelings and release those feelings, fog clears. And when the fog clears, clarity comes. That's why when people are really in toxic relationships from the outside, it's kind of like, why are they doing that? Why are they repeating this cycle? Why can't they just walk away? It's not as easy as simply walking away, because it's so much more than that. The ego knows how difficult it is to walk away, because the ego knows that it's going to cause heartbreak or it's going to cause uncomfortability. So the ego is going to do everything in its power to kind of keep you in those situations, even though that's not actually what is best for you. So it's being really honest with yourself, like in certain moments. I'm going to use the relationship example. For example, if you're in a relationship and you're not happy and you're not getting what you need, it can be really easy to stay in something that's not conducive to your growth, that's not in alignment with what's best for you because of past experience. Maybe in the past things were really great, and people often hold on to that. The ego will hold on to that. The ego will convince you, oh, well, it was really, really good. Remember all of those good emotions that you were feeling? We can replicate that. That can happen again. If you let go, what if you don't find something as good? What if you don't find something that brings you that happiness again? And the ego is going to convince you to stay. Also, the ego probably had a whole fantasy of where the relationship could have went. You know, when you're in a relationship with someone, it's very natural to start thinking of your future. It's very natural to start fantasizing about marriage or kids that you could have, or the trips you're going to take, or what your life is going to look like. It's really easy to fantasize a future for yourself, and letting go requires letting go of that fantasy, letting go of what you thought your life was going to look like. And that's actually very difficult as well. So it's also catching yourself in those moments when you start to fantasize things for yourself in the future. It's not holding on to those things, because that can make it more difficult and more foggy to walk away if something is no longer in alignment with you. It's trusting that, okay, this was in my life for this chapter, for this period of time, because it did serve me for a period of time, and there was a lot that I learned out of this. However, in the present moment, I'm not getting what I need. I'm not getting what I deserve. Therefore, what's best for me, what my heart is telling me to do, is walk away. But that's a hard decision because it's uncomfortable. It's going to cause heartbreak. It's not only going to cause heartbreak for me, but it is going to cause heartbreak for my partner. Other people might judge me. Other people might not understand. And the ego is going to not want you to have to go through that. So it's going to convince you to stay, because it's going to bring up memories of the past. It is going to remind you of, what about this fantasy you thought up of? This is where your life was going. And if this is what you achieve with this person, then you will be happy. Just hold on a little bit longer. But essentially all that does is prolong the pain, and it keeps you stuck, and it prevents you from growing, and it prevents you from aligning with what is actually meant for you. So trust is really, really important. Trust in God, trust in the universe, having faith that God's plan is what's best for you. I remember I went through a breakup a few years back, and at the time it was devastating. I was living with the guy. I thought that we were going to get married. I thought all of the things. I was teaching at the time too. I was in a master's program for counseling, and I was like, this is what my life's going to look like. I'm going to marry him. I'm going to become a counselor. Our life is going to be really good. We are going to have kids, and I know that all of these things will bring me happiness. Then the breakup ensued, and I was like, holy fuck, everything I thought my life was going to be just shattered in front of me. And it was really hard at the time, but at the time I had enough trust and faith in the universe that this was happening for for me. So I didn't hold on. I didn't try to get him back. I focused on me. And when he tried to get me back, I listened to my heart. And instead of going back into what was comfortable, I remained firm in my boundaries and I followed my heart, even though it wasn't easy. And as a result of that, that breakup was the best fucking thing that ever could have happened to me. However, at the time, I didn't see that. I was really foggy because I was still so wrapped up in my human emotions, but I gave myself the time and the space to feel what I needed to feel. I didn't shove it down. I let myself cry. I let myself be angry. I gave myself the space to release those things so that when that released, I was clear in the mind. I was clear and I realized, oh my God, this happened for me because that relationship was keeping me stuck. As a result of that breakup, I quit my job. I dropped out of school. I started working for myself, which then gave me the ability to travel around the world. And when I tell you my life fucking changed in a way I never expected, it changed in the best way imaginable. And I would not be who I am today if that breakup didn't happen. I would not be who I am today if I didn't trust the universe. If I had held on, if I went back when he tried to get me back, I would have backpedaled. I would have repeated a cycle. But because I had the strength within myself and because I trusted God and I trusted God's plan more than my ego's plan, my path unfolded in the most magical way. And I'll say it again, that breakup was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. No hate to my ex or anything like that. Like I genuinely do like wish him the best. Like I really do. But sometimes when things happen, they can feel devastating. It can be confusing. We might not understand why it's happening, but often these things are blessings in disguise. And often these things will catapult us into so much growth. That breakup was a huge catalyst for me. It was more than just a breakup. It was a catalyst to inner growth, self-discovery, self-love, healing, expansion, spiritual awakening. It changed my whole world. It changed my perception of self. It changed my perception of the world. It changed literally everything for me. So if you find it difficult to trust the universe, if you find it difficult to trust in God's plan, that's okay, but it's being honest with yourself and it is taking steps and making action toward strengthening that connection with God and the universe. So it is taking the time to build that connection with yourself, to build that relationship with spirit, and that takes time. You know, it's easy to know something, but it's a whole other thing to actually embody that energy. For example, when a person is smoking cigarettes, they probably logically know it's not good for them. Logically, they probably know that it's killing them slowly, but it's one thing to know that, and it's another thing to actually have the strength to quit. Often, you know, when we're with addiction, with whatever it may be, to break an addiction is often not as simple as having more self-discipline. You know, sometimes we beat ourselves up. Oh, I need to quit smoking. I need to quit. I need to have more self-discipline. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Oftentimes, most often, it's more complicated than that. It's deeper rooted. Often we have addiction because we are numbing something. We are numbing something that feels uncomfortable within us, and we can't just slap a band-aid on it. We need to figure out where that uncomfortable feeling is coming from, and we need to sit with that. We need to figure out the root. What is causing me so much pain that I am numbing? When you become aware of the root, that then gives you the ability to heal the root. When you heal the root cause of why you are numbing yourself, then it becomes a lot easier to give up that addiction. But a lot of people bypass that. A lot of people just, it's almost like they hate themselves. Why can't I do this? And they're really hard on themselves. I need to have more self-discipline, blah, blah, blah. And that actually causes a lot more harm than good. It's having grace with yourself and realizing I am this way. It's like cause and effect. I am this way because of something. I might not know what that something is, but I'm going to take the time to figure it out, to discover it. Because when I do, that's when I can make real change. But often in that discovery, it requires uncomfortability. ability. It requires you to dive in and to get curious. And a lot of people struggle with doing that because we haven't been taught how to do that. We've been taught to put band-aids on things. We've been taught to seek validation externally. We are taught that we are not good enough unless we accomplish X, Y, and Z. We are taught that we need to be hard on ourselves. We are taught that we are not good enough if we don't have the discipline. You get it, blah, 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 blah. But when we slow down and realize, again, cause and effect, I am this way because of past wounds, because of past experiences, and that's okay. When you give yourself that grace, that's when you're able to get more honest and become more reflective and get curious. And when you're able to really get curious with yourself, that's when answers will emerge. You know, most of the world, 98% of people on earth are asleep. Most people are not awake to who they actually are, and it's nobody's fault. It's because it's what we've been taught through society. We've been taught to plan our lives. You know, you go to school, you get an education. When you graduate high school, you are taught that you need to plan your future. You know, I was a high school teacher for 5 years, and I know that when you get into the senior years, there's a lot of pressure on these kids. What do you want to do when you're older? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What do you want to study in university? Do you want to go to university, or do you want to do a trade, or are you going to jump into the workforce? You need to have it figured out. You need to have your life planned. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. And in this day and age, you need to make X amount of money, because otherwise, who are you going to amount to? And that is so toxic. That's all the ego. The ego is wanting to control. The ego is wanting to control our future, to control our path, to keep us safe. Again, the ego is not a bad thing. It's there to keep us safe, but we give way too much power to it. To me, the ego is equivalent to the mind. The mind was created when your physical body was created, when you were born. Our soul communicates with us through our heart, and our soul has been around for eons. Your soul is ancient, and your soul communicates with you through the heart. However, if you are always in the mind and you are allowing the ego to run the game for you, you are not giving yourself the opportunity to listen to what the heart is telling you. And again, the soul communicates with you through your heart. Your soul has the ability to see your path. Your soul knows. Your mind doesn't know. Your mind is like the remote control in a video game. It is meant to navigate your avatar in the here and the now. It is meant to protect you. It is meant to tell you, oh, I'm hungry. Okay, let's go get food. Oh, I need to go to the grocery store. Oh, I need to go here, or whatever it may be. In a video game, the remote control is not meant to figure out what's supposed to happen in the future. Don't put the pressure on that. It's not created for that. If you do, it's more than likely going to take you down the wrong path, because it's not created to see into the future. Your soul, however, has the ability to. And we give way too much power to the mind. If we were to kind of slow down and focus on the here and the now, we then are able to tune into the heart. And we are then able to listen to where the heart is leading us. When we are so focused on controlling our future, that showcases, again, not having trust in your actual path, because you're trying to control. And if you are trying to control, you are not in a receptive state. You are not going to allow the things that are meant for you to come in, because it's like you're trying to go down a path that's not meant for you. There's going to be a lot more speed bumps. So there's going to be a lot more roadblocks. Now, this is not me telling you not to have goals. If you're genuinely passionate about something and you're excited about something, those are the clues. That's what you want to pursue. That excitement, that joy, that's your soul communicating with you. It's taking action on those things, not on what society tells you should be taking action on. Going back to the high school example, these kids are pressured to do something that society views to be successful. I know that when I was in high school, I wanted to go to school for acting, but I wasn't allowed, because I was told, you can't accomplish anything in that. That's not a good job. You need to do something that's reasonable. You need to do something that's logical. So I then went to school for something else, but that wasn't actually what was bringing me the most joy. And look at me now. Like, I went to school all of these years to become a teacher, and I quit 5 years later. And I'm grateful for it. There's reason for everything, and we're all exactly where we need to be. Even if you make decisions based on ego, that's okay, because at the end of the day, if you make that decision, that's where you're at on your soul path. So you're going to get yourself into a situation that will teach you something to hopefully align you with a path that is more in alignment with you. So it's impossible to make the wrong decision. I want to make that very clear. but it's really kind of letting go and unlearning what we've been taught. Because again, we try to control so much, and that it makes it hard to let go when we've been programmed in that way. So it's letting go of societal pressures, like let go of societal pressures, what society tells you success looks like, because that's ingrained in you. So that's going to take time. Like logically, you might know that, but it's another thing to actually let those limiting beliefs go. So it's really taking the time on that. What does success actually mean to me? What does it look like? What feels good for me? And releasing those limiting beliefs, releasing what society tells you you need to do. And when you're really able to work on that, it will be easier to kind of let go of the future you've created for yourself, or the future your ego has created for yourself. Like, let me tell you, when I started following my path, the universe has taken me down roads I never thought that I was going to go down, but I'm so grateful I went down those roads, because those roads brought me so much joy. And I've met so many people, and they've taken me through experiences that I didn't always understand, but the wisdom that I've learned through those experiences, it all makes sense in hindsight. So it's releasing what the ego wants, and it's reminding yourself, thank you, ego, for wanting to keep me safe. Thank you, because I know why you're wanting to control. I understand you want to keep me safe, and that's what you're here for. Like, you are meant to keep me safe in this human experience. That's your job. So it's reminding the ego, like, thank you, I appreciate you, but I trust my soul. I trust my soul because I know that my soul knows better, and I know that my soul has the ability to see my path ahead, and my soul knows what steps I need to take to align with my most fulfilling path, even if it's not the path that my ego thinks is best for me. So it's reminding yourself of that and centering back into the heart space. And with time, it will make it easier to trust your heart, to trust your intuition, and it's taking those baby steps. And you'll see, when you follow your heart, you will be rewarded. The universe will show you. It's like little cookie crumbs, because letting go is it's really not easy. And it's really like, the more you work on yourself, the more you work on your self-love, the more you work on healing and understanding why you are the way you are, why you want what you think you want. Because another thing that I learned when I really started listening to the heart and listening to my soul and trusting the universe and letting go of what I thought I wanted, when I really started doing that, I realized that what I thought I wanted wasn't actually what my soul was desiring. It is what my ego wanted, because my ego thought that if I had these things, my ego thought that is what would bring me happiness. So when I started trusting in God's plan and releasing what my ego thought I wanted, I realized that those things I thought I wanted weren't things that actually were going to bring me that fulfillment. So a big piece in letting go is just like letting go of all of it. Like it's questioning yourself, questioning your views, questioning everything, dissecting everything. Why am I this way? Really getting clear on your wounds, your childhood wounds, because the more you understand about your childhood and why you are the way you are, the more you're going to learn about yourself, the more you are going to understand why you attach onto certain things, the more you are going to understand why you want what you think you want, or what your ego thinks you want. So a big piece in letting go is self-discovery, really learning how to love yourself. I have a video on self-love. I recommend you listening to that. But it's really getting clear on who you are. It's really quieting the mind, body, spirit, really taking care of your mind, your body, and your spirit, because when all three are being taken care of, your mind is not going to be spinning all the time. Like, really clearing the mind is a big one, because when the mind is clear, that's when you're able to listen to your heart and where your heart is guiding you. And the more you will be able to trust, because the more you listen to your heart, it's like baby steps. The more you listen to your heart, you will see that you are rewarded. Therefore, it is going to make it easier to listen to your heart the next time. And when you do it again, you will see you will be rewarded again, and it'll make it easier to listen to your heart the next time, which then makes it easier to let go of those attachments. And, again, if you are attached to something that's not good for you, the more you know about yourself, you're going to understand why you are attached to those things. Often it stems from childhood wounds. And when you're able to heal those wounds, you're not going to have a need for that attachment anymore, which is going to make it easier to let go. So really the key of letting go is is not just like, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to wipe it from my mind and let it go. It's not that simple. It's deeper than that. It's self-love, getting to know yourself, understanding who you are, diving into those childhood wounds, really understanding how those wounds are showing up in the here and the now, because most people on this earth are children in adult bodies. Because we weren't taught how to heal, we weren't taught how to love ourselves, and time is not linear the way we are experiencing it. Time is all happening at once. I know quantum physics can explain this. I'm not about to try to explain it for you because I do not know how to, but time is not linear the way we are experiencing it here on Earth. It is all happening at once. So the younger version of you, the child version of you, is still alive. And a lot of people say, oh, time heals, but that could not be farther from the truth. Time simply buries. So when you are able to go back and heal those wounds, that's when you can actually make change in the here and the now. Often it's the child in you that needs healing. So when you do the childhood healing, you can make so much more change for yourself in the here and the now. But a lot of people negate that. A lot of people just think, oh, that happened so long ago, that doesn't affect me anymore. Well, maybe it's not this version of you that needs the healing, but that younger version of you does. Because that younger version of you didn't have the opportunity to feel what it needed to feel, what he or she or they needed to feel. The younger version of you didn't have the opportunity to express or process their hurt, their emotions, because it wasn't safe. So that younger version of you suppressed it because that's what that younger version of you needed to do at the time. But as a result of that, the ego is now going to show up and try to protect you from experiencing that sort of hurt again. And what that can look like in the here and the now is keeping you within your comfort zone and preventing you from stepping outside of your comfort zone, which then would lead to growth and evolution and more fulfillment in your life. So when you understand where these wounds come from, and when you have the ability to go back in there and actually heal and be the parent for that younger version of yourself, that's when you can make real change in the here and the now. But most people don't do that. Most people suppress, most people numb, most people don't even understand that these wounds from childhood are affecting them in the here and the now. Most people are ignorant to it, and it's not their fault. It's because we weren't taught. But it is so essential in your growth, and it is so essential in receiving what is meant for you. Because if that younger part of you doesn't feel safe to receive, you're never going to receive in the here and the now. So it's really slowing down, getting to know yourself, healing, getting curious. And the more you do, the more you build your trust with Source, the easier it will be to release and to let go and to surrender and to let go of that need for control. Because often when we feel the need for control, again, it's those wounds and it's our ego trying to protect us. It's not a bad thing, but that's often where it stems from. So letting go is not a 1, 2, 3 easy fix. It's going to take time. It's going to take dedication to self. But by doing that, it will become easier and easier. And you will see that by doing so, you will align with your most fulfilling timeline. And it'll always be challenging. It's not easy to let go of things, especially when they did serve you for a while, especially if you have fond memories of something, a person or a thing or whatever it is. It can be difficult to let go of that, absolutely. But it's also acknowledging those feelings. It's acknowledging the human part of it. It's giving yourself the permission to cry. It's giving yourself the permission to be confused, to be angry. It's not suppressing it though. It's feeling all of those things so that you can release it, so that you can move through it. You can't skip over things in life. You know, nothing really does come easy. It is work, but the real work that people should be focused on is the inner work. And a lot of people are focused on the external work, trying to control. And really that's just keeping people stuck. It's keeping people unfulfilled, which is why we see so many people seeking fulfillment in other ways, you know, striving for what they believe success to be, striving for money, striving for fame, striving for all of these luxury items because they feel like when they have these things, that's when they will be happy. And it's the other way around. It's starting internally. It's starting here. And by doing that, you will naturally align with what your soul is truly desiring. So it's really releasing everything that we've been taught, letting go of where you think your life is going to go, because that's your ego. We are not able to see and to know. That would take away from the reason we're here. We're here to learn and we're here to grow. If we knew everything ahead of time, we wouldn't learn those lessons. We wouldn't grow. And that would that would defeat the purpose of being human and having this human experience. So it's acknowledging those feelings and being there for yourself, but it's also remembering that there is purpose to everything and really just trusting at the end of the day. So yeah, let me know what you thought of today's episode. Yeah, I guess I don't really have like a list of this is what you need to do to let go. Check, because it's more complicated than that. It's like I've said a few times now, it's really focusing on you, your self-love journey, your healing journey, really getting to know yourself. And the more you do naturally, the easier it will be to trust spirit and to let go. It's building that relationship with yourself, building your relationship with your intuition, because it's really hard to listen to your intuition. It's really hard to listen to your heart because society often will shut that down. You know, we see kids coming into this world with all of these big dreams. They can accomplish everything. And then as time goes, society squishes those dreams in kids. The society tells you, you can't do this. You're not capable of this. And society puts you in a box, and we believe them. We believe that we only can be happy and we can only achieve success within this box when the opposite is true. So it's really reconnecting with the child within you, letting go of these limiting beliefs and really working on that. And when you're really able to release and move through those limiting beliefs and heal those wounds, it's going to open up a whole new path for you, a path so much more aligned with your soul and your purpose, a path where you will find so much more fulfillment, genuine fulfillment, not fulfillment you are seeking from outside things. And it's not a quick fix. That's another thing. Here on earth, we want that instant gratification. We want it now. And there is no quick fix for this. It's not going to happen overnight. Slow and steady. But I'm going to leave it there today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening, thank you so much for thank you so much if you're here on the YouTube. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Check out my other podcast, The Multiple Truths. I'll have it linked below. Follow me on all of my other social platforms. I post daily over there as well. TikTok, Instagram, all the things. I'll have everything linked in the description below. I am sending you all so much love, so much light. And until next time, bye guys.
This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion.